This is Gene Stiller, a 72-year-old man. Ring now, he's been arrested for the murder of Julia Sue Wilbanks, a crime he committed 34 years ago.
I don't know. Type of closing it.
Through advanced DNA technology, detectives were able to connect every piece of evidence back to Gene.
Kind of relationship, whether it be a 5-minute
Sheriff pulled me over, searched my car.
What did they find?
On September 23, 1991, along a road off Neptune Road in St. Cloud, Florida, a woman's body, later identified as Julia Sue Wilbanks, was discovered by a group of motorists. When officers arrived at the scene, they secured the area in the body. Upon further examination by forensics experts, it was determined that Julia had been stabbed 17 times and had been deceased for approximately 24 hours. Investigators also found blood at the scene, but due to the lack of advanced DNA technology at the time, they were unable to identify a suspect. As a result, the investigation stalled, and the case eventually went cold. In April 2025, the case was reopened. Using modern DNA technology and genetic genealogy, investigators were able to link the blood found on Julia to Gene Stiller as a possible suspect. Investigators then used surveillance footage to track Gene's movements. Through this surveillance, they recovered a discarded straw he had used. When DNA from the straw was tested, it was found to be an exact match to the blood recovered from Julia. Following this discovery, Gene was brought in for interrogation.
Okay. Then they wouldn't tell me where she lived, and then she moved underneath of my apartment.
Oh, that's a cool story.
So
yeah,
we
that's
got
nice.
together and been together ever since.
Okay. Any relationships or marriages before her?
Yeah, back in Minerva, I was married for a year.
Okay. Okay. And any relationships or marriages when you first moved to Florida in '83? No, nothing. Okay. So you're single that whole time. Any girlfriends?
None to speak of. No.
Okay. Did you ever get in any trouble with law enforcement at all here in Florida when you moved here?
Maybe traffic tickets.
Some traffic tickets? No arrests or anything like
No.
that? No? Okay. And you lived in Kissimmee. Do you remember the address you lived in Kissimmee?
I don't remember that address, but it was Fountainhead Apartments.
Fountainhead Apartments? Okay. Can you remember if in 1991 that you lived in Kissimmee?
God, I can't. I don't know when I moved to Orlando.
Yeah. You said you moved to Orlando and came back a couple times.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with the area. Did you live in St. Cloud at all?
No.
No. Familiar with St. Cloud? Did you do any work in St. Cloud?
No.
No.
I came to St. Cloud because Ford Insurance Company was there.
Okay.
And I had my trailer. I was getting the house insurance through them.
Okay. That's the only connection.
Yeah.
Kind of St. Cloud. Okay. Well, in 1991, a female by the name of Julia Wilbanks, okay, she was found in St. Cloud, close here. She was deceased, okay? Does she look familiar at all to you? She is from Kissimmee and was in Kissimmee area.
No, sir.
No. You can take a closer look at it if you want. Yeah, you can look at it.
I don't believe that it's not somebody I ever dated or anything. No, I don't. Just ring a bell.
Despite being shown a photograph of the victim, Gene Stiller denies ever knowing the woman. He carefully suppresses any visible emotional reaction, a trait detectives often perceive as a defense mechanism among suspects. However, what detectives reveal next changes the entire direction of the interrogation.
Okay. She's from Kissimmee around the same time that you were, that you lived there as well. Okay. And she did some sex work and stuff like that. Did you, in that time frame, or did you have any relationships with any maybe prostitutes or sex workers at all?
No.
Nothing that you Nothing you did that, any drugs or anything like that? No drug
I
history?
was going to NA back then.
Okay, what for?
And, sir?
Well, I'm sorry, continue.
And drinking, and then 4 years ago, the 13th of next month, I'll have 4 years sober. I damn near lost my wife. I didn't realize how much she was drinking. She had an operation, quit drinking for 2 days, and went into DT's in the middle of the night. I got the ambulance there, and when she got out of the hospital and she had to go to the nursing home for a while, we both joined AA. And
That's good.
it's where I was headed today, to the grocery store and to an AA meeting when I got picked up.
Okay.
Okay. What was you drink alcohol? What
Yeah.
was your drink of choice?
Budweiser and Crown Royal.
Royal.
So you never did any narcotics or anything? Listen,
Back in the day in Orlando, we lived out by SeaWorld off of Orangewood Boulevard. We did some coke, my brother and I, and another fellow that's deceased now.
Okay. How often do you think you do that?
God, I don't know. Weekends if we had it.
And you and a friend?
Me and my brother and
Your
a
brother.
roommate, and he
What's-
passed away.
What's your brother's name?
Dan Wallach.
Dan Walk. And he passed away, or?
No, the roommate passed away.
Was it from drugs?
No, he had cancer.
And does your brother still live around here as well?
He lives in Winter Park,
Was in Winter Park?
and
Is
he
this,
just walked away from the drugs. He didn't have a problem.
Okay. Biological brother?
No, stepbrother.
A stepbrother? Okay. From your dad or your mom's side?
My mom's side.
Okay.
My dad remarried after my mother died, and married a gal with 4 girls and a boy.
Okay. And do they all live here in kind of Central Florida?
One lives in Ocala. One lives in Waterford Park. One lives in, it's either Deltona or DeLand. Another one lives in Orlando. And my brother lives in Winter.
like the detective here says, we're looking into this case from 1991, which is a long, long time ago. All right? And your name popped up.
Any idea as to why your name would come up?
No, unless maybe she went to NA or something.
Okay, did you went to NA back then too?
Yeah. It was there was a treatment center off of OBT, and I want to say Oak Street was an AA clubhouse.
Okay, it's possible. Yeah,
That would make sense.
but she doesn't sound familiar in the newspapers or anything like that. Okay, and she was found deceased here locally as well.
Trying to figure out how my name popped up.
Well, we'll let you know, and the detective has been working this case for a long time. Okay, things in law enforcement takes time. It's not like on TV. You get an hour show. 20 minutes of that is commercials. Okay, as you know. So these cases do take a long time. And some of these cases are expensive. You know, especially when you're trying to get, you know what DNA is?
Yes.
Okay, that's very expensive. Very, very expensive. And so it's not like we call up and say, run this DNA. That's not how that works. We need to get permission all the way up. Probably definitely goes to the chief. Maybe even goes beyond him, because that's how expensive it is. Right, so these cases do take a long time, but your name did pop up in the investigation.
And it takes a while. This type of science behind it, it's extravagant.
Right.
It took a long time for things to be able to be developed, to be able to analyze things as well as they do now. Because in 1991, obviously technology is not like it is today. Smartphones and things like that, you can find out things like that. I'm sure that you're aware of that. And like Corporal was saying, it takes time for us to get the right DNA and to analyze it, okay? And like I mentioned, she was found deceased, and your name came up in the investigation, okay? And it was all connected through DNA.
Detectives calmly explained that the evidence collected in 1991 was properly preserved. Decades later, Jean's name surfaced as a possible suspect through DNA analysis. To investigators, Jean appears emotionally detached, a common sign of psychological defense. When suspects take this path, they are often calculating their next move.
And, we're not here to lie to you. Okay? Our job here is to find out the truth, what happened. Because this lady here, I don't know her. The detective doesn't know her. But she has a family. And no matter what we do here, she's not going to come back. Okay? But at least we can give the family some peace of mind. I'm not sure how much peace of mind. It depends on who the person is. I've never been to a situation where a loved one of mine was found the way she was found. So I can't tell you, I can't tell them, I know how you feel. Because I don't know how you feel. Our job here is to find out what really happened, why it happened. That's important. The families want to know why. They already know what happened. For 30 years, they don't know why it happened.
Her son was 8 years old when this happened and has grown up the rest of his life now knowing what happened to his mom, but not knowing why. Why did it happen? He grew up from 8 years. He's in his 40s now with his own family, and he has no closure as to what happened to his mom. And that's what we're here trying to figure out. We want to know what happened to her. Can you tell us what happened to her?
No, sir, I can't.
So why would, like I said, I'm going to be honest with you. And I want you to be honest with us. Okay, there's only 3 of us in this room. Okay? You can say you don't know what happened to her, right? But we know certain things that we know you were there. We wouldn't be talking to you if you weren't there. We can prove you were there. We can prove that scientifically you were there. Right? So it's not like we just took your name out of a hat and said, okay, let's go talk to this guy. That's not how, because then we're just wasting our time. We know you were there. We can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt that you were there. So we just want to know what happened, why this happened. You don't look like a bad person. We have interviewed some killers. You're not one of them. So we want to give you the opportunity of telling us why this happened so we can tell the families.
I don't have any answers for you.
Gene, I don't believe that. Okay, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about this. I know there's a side of the story. Okay, I know you have a side of the story. Everybody has one. Like he's saying, there's a reason why we're here talking to you today. Okay, your blood was on her.
That cannot change. The percentage is 1.6 trillion to 1. There's not even a trillion people in the world. That we cannot get away from. that you can't get away from. Right? So, I know it was a long time ago. Things happen. Alright? But, like I said, we know you were there. Because your blood was there. And blood is better than a fingerprint. Much better than a fingerprint.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't know anything.
I can't imagine how this has weighed on you for 33 years. That pressure and always having that in the back of your mind, knowing what happened.
Gene continues to insist that he knows nothing about the crime, but his body language tells a different story. Detectives frequently hear this kind of denial, especially from suspects who understand the power of DNA evidence.
And I know in 2015 it built up quite a bit, okay? So I know you've been stressing out about this since it happened. It's not something that you can just forget, okay? I know that. And I know that you've been wanting to try and talk to somebody about this, okay?
I don't know what you want me to say. I know nothing about this.
Gene,
What?
I know that's not true.
So if you're saying you don't know nothing about this, how comes your blood was there?
I don't know. I don't know that it was. You're telling me it was, but if I wasn't there, how's my blood get there?
Good question. Good question. That will never change. Like I said before, we're not here to lie to you. Really not. Like, it doesn't benefit us one bit. Right? Myself as a detective here, we're not getting promoted off this case. That's not how this goes. Right? We're not becoming movie stars off this case. That's all TV. Okay? But the one thing that we know that will never ever change here, that your blood was on her. That can't change. Maybe you have a rational reason why it's there, and I'm willing to listen to that. But that doesn't change. We're not just the two have been working on this case. A lot of people were looking on this case, even back then. When St. Cloud was nothing. Nobody knew what St. Cloud was. Right, so back since this lady was discovered until today, people have been working on this case. Maybe not daily. So we just happen to be the last two. And that's what this is. You have to explain, okay, you're saying that you weren't there, you don't know what happens. Okay, how did her blood get on her? How did your blood, not his, not mine, not siblings of yours, remember 1.6 trillion to 1. And that's what you're going to have to answer to. So think about it. If you're on the other side, you're on my side and I'm over there, and you know that 1.6 trillion to 1, but done by DNA labs, that this is what they do. And the person's telling, and I'm telling you, I don't know anything, I wasn't anywhere. What would you think?
I don't know what to think. I do not know how this happened.
That's what we're here. We want to find out what happened.
I don't know.
With Gene offering no concrete explanation for why his blood was found on the victim, detectives realize this will be a long interrogation. They shift the conversation to everyday topics, a strategy designed to reduce stress and re-engage the suspect.
Are you taking any kind of medications or anything like that?
Blood pressure, cholesterol.
Okay. Majority of Americans are taking that.
Still drive?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can't.
Yes.
Driving this morning, headed to the store in an AA meeting.
Right. How often do you go to church?
AA is my church.
Gotcha.
They stress spirituality and a power greater than yourself.
That was my next question, was the AA meeting at the church. Okay.
And I go between 8 and 11 meetings a week. My wife goes with me.
A week.
A week.
How many meetings a week?
8, from 8 to 11. Monday through Friday at Wakava Basics on Bear Lake Road. Monday night happy hour in Castleberry. 2-3 nights a week over to Winter Park off of Loma. Saturday night at Asbury Church in Winter Park is a beginners meeting. Saturday and Sunday at Living Sober in Apopka off of McGee. I think it's St. Stephen's Church, I'm not sure.
Sounds like you're doing a lot
to
too.
11 meetings a week.
That's good for you, huh? I'm glad.
My life is, up until now, was more than I ever expected.
Do you think, have you felt that it's helped?
Me? Oh, definitely. It's helped my relationship. It's helped me. It's helped the way I look at things. I have daily readings, daily prayer and meditation I do. I have a sponsor. I call him on Wednesdays. I go out of my way. Tomorrow I'm supposed to take my parents from, where Broadmoor is in Kissimmee. It's a retirement village. I'm supposed to take them up to Hunters Creek to a doctor's appointment because Dad's 93. He can't drive. Mom's 87. She doesn't like to drive.
Yeah.
She's been my mom longer than my real mom. My real mom died while I was in the service.
What branch were you in?
Army.
Thanks for your service. I really mean. So you're saying you don't remember anything, right? You don't know what we were talking about.
I'm from what you're telling me, but no, I don't know her. I know nothing about this.
This isn't just going to go away.
Okay?
We're gonna have to, we're here, like I said before, to find out the truth, to hear your side of the story. Because there is like life is a coin. It's two sides. We just don't take one side of the coin, because that's not fair. We look at both sides of the coin. Right? So it may look like, oh, these two guys here, they're looking to hem me up. No, we're not. We don't have that power. We don't. Our job is to find out the truth, but the main thing is why this happened. Because there's a why for everything. Just like when you were drinking. There's a why you were drinking so heavily. There is. You may tell people, well, I don't know why I was drinking so, but
I know why.
But bingo. You know why you were drinking. There's a why for everything. The kid steals a cookie from the cookie jar. He knows why. He may not tell his parents, but there's a why for everything. For how it's done. Why. This is how life is. And that's what we're here for, to find out. So we can give the families, her son, something. So,
What's your why?
What's what?
What's your why?
Of why I drank? Never felt like I fit in, blamed everything. I was always the victim. Just not a happy person. And I could escape it with the booze.
When do you think that started out?
As a little kid,
As a little kid.
I was the guy that got picked on, and
You the youngest?
I was the only till my mother died. And I just, they say you can't quit for anybody but yourself.
True.
But the reason I decided to quit was I promised to take care of my wife, and I drank so much that I didn't know that she was drinking as much as she was. I didn't know she was sick. And that night when I woke up and her bowels had let go and she was throwing up, laying on her back, I called got her turned over and sitting on a stool, and called the ambulance. And they took her in the hospital, and they found out she was going through DTs because she had quit on a Sunday to have an operation on Tuesday. Thursday night, in the middle of the night, she went into DTs. Why she went into DTs and I never did, I don't know.
Everybody's different. It's like you see people out there that are never get fat, but they'll eat a cow. Everybody's different.
Since the last week of December, I've lost 25 pounds because the heart doctor said lose the weight or have another operation.
Wow. Yeah.
How'd you manage that?
Well, he put me on Wegovy, but I don't think that's what's doing it. I've cut out candy,
There you go.
cookies, donuts. When I got sober, I figured out I love to eat. And pasta, white bread.
Gotcha.
I ate a lot of fruit. I had 2 tangerines in the car to take to the meeting with me today.
It's a good way to do it.
Very good. So, we're going to have to figure out how your blood got on this lady.
Can I ask you, you have a scar. Can I ask what happened with this?
Here?
How you got the scar? It's on the other side, on your left side.
I was working at Edmund Health in the maintenance shop, and I was trying to bend a piece of angle, and somebody walked in. I turned to look at him. I missed it and hit myself in the head.
Oh,
And with about a 3-pound sledge.
oh.
And I walked up front, and my wife had come to the office to bring me my phone. And when I walked by the director's office, he said, "What happened?" I said, "My wife hit me."
Oh.
Hopefully it didn't take you too serious.
No.
Okay, good. Good.
Did you?
How did you do in those fights?
Nobody wins. I know that nowadays.
That is true. Nobody wins. So how are we gonna get around to letting this lady's son know what happened?
I do not have an answer for it. I do not know, and that's not going to change.
You have no reason why, or you don't know why your blood would be on her. Okay.
Got a couple of pictures if you're willing to look at them, okay? This is Julia, okay? And this was her when we found her, okay? She's got a lot of blood on her, okay? And this is her. This is where she was. This is her right there. And we're not lying about the blood.
She was stabbed 17 times. That's a lot. Usually they say cases like this is someone that knows her, because it has a lot to do with feelings. Somebody wronged me, you know. If you see 1 or 2, maybe it could be a stranger. When you start seeing 17, 20, 30, it's usually the victim and the suspect. There's a connection somewhere. Whether their connection romantically, business-wise, but there is a connection because that's personal. Personal. A guy who's going to do something is not going to wait around to do 17 stab wounds. He may get caught. He may get away with 1 or 2, and because his main thing is, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. We also know for a fact this possibly didn't happen over where she was found. It was somewhere else. Because there was, as you can see in the picture here, there is nothing there. Side of the road, like she was dumped. From my experience. Do you know where this is? This area?
No. Looks like a field.
Right across the street from the police department. The police department wasn't here. So you're right, open field. You know where Neptune Road is?
Vaguely, because I lived in that area and I worked when I was working for Disney. I was laid off and I worked for Bronson's at the Orange Groves on Pleasant Hill, and they had a place in Hollow Paw. And I used to go from Pleasant Hill, I'd take their truck out to Hollow Paw. So I've seen that Neptune Road, yeah.
There was nothing on Neptune Road. This police department wasn't here, which is kind of ironic. You get the police department investigating a crime that the police department wasn't there when the crime occurred. But that's Neptune Road. Because 1991, St. Cloud was totally different from what it is now. Now it takes you probably 50 minutes to go from one end to the next. So like we said, that's where all that blood, hers and yours. Nobody else.
Was it just an accident? Was it a mistake? Because you don't seem like you're the kind of person that's going around being a mass murderer.
Right.
Is there something built up that just
I
happened?
don't know the woman. I didn't do it. I don't know if you're trying to get me to
We're not getting you to
do
do
something.
anything.
I don't know her. I never met her.
In 1991, Jean was deeply involved in drugs and cocaine use. With the victim also reportedly involved in drugs, detectives take a different approach, possibly hoping Jean might admit to his role in the crime.
We can agree that you lived in Kissimmee in 1991, right?
Probably.
And I know for a fact that this woman lived in Kissimmee in 1991. You mentioned you had a cocaine problem back then.
Yeah.
This woman had a cocaine problem back then. You mentioned that you had some interactions with sex workers back then.
No.
Well,
Believe
you said
that's
you got laid in a sex club.
Oh, Mousetrap up in Orlando. I
Okay.
dated some of the people that worked there. Well,
Well,
I went out with them.
you could technically call them
Okay.
sex workers then if
All
they
right.
provided you
Dancers.
services for money.
Okay.
This woman was a sex worker. I don't know that she worked there. She more, as far as I know, worked the streets. But she also frequented areas like McLaren Circle, which you said you frequented.
No, I said I went once
Okay.
because I got stopped on the way out.
And you went there with the intent to buy cocaine,
Yes, sir.
and she also used cocaine. You said you had an alcohol problem, right? That caused you to have blackouts?
I have blacked out drinking, yes.
And the fact that you cannot explain how your blood ended up on this woman's shorts, you don't think that could be because of your drug and alcohol use? That maybe you had some sort of blackout? Maybe you were with this woman one night?
When I blacked out, I was mostly at home and lived in Orlando, where I live now. There was a 10-year period where I didn't go to meetings, but I was sober because of my wife, because her first husband was an alcoholic.
Okay, but in 1991 you were not sober.
No, off and on.
In 1991 you were using drugs and alcohol at the same time.
I would imagine then, yes.
You would imagine?
I drank, and I because I was going to NA and AA.
Is there a lot from that time period that you can't remember?
No, I could probably tell you where I worked and what I drove.
But how about when you weren't at work and when you weren't driving, when you were out enjoying your weekend off or your nights, having some drinks, having some cocaine?
I very seldom drank out. It's too expensive to drink out. I drank at home. That's where we were drinking before we got sober, my wife and I, at home.
But you admit that you did drink and you used cocaine and you weren't always working.
Yeah.
So on those nights and weekends where you were not at work and you were drinking and you were using cocaine, how was your memory then? Can you remember every one of those nights? Can you remember the finite
Probably
details?
not, no.
So is it possible that you met up with this other cocaine user? Maybe you guys hung out together. Maybe it was just an acquaintance. Maybe she tried to sell you drugs. Maybe she tried to steal your drugs. And maybe something happened. Maybe there was an argument. Maybe there was a fight. Maybe she stabbed you first. But there's got to be a reason. There's got to be an explanation for how your blood ended up on her shorts.
I don't have a clue. The girl does not ring a bell. I'm sure I would remember that crap.
I would hope you'd remember it just because of how intense the situation.
According to forensic experts, laboratory analysis determined that it was 1.9 trillion times more likely that the DNA came from Jean than from any unrelated individual. And with this evidence, there's no possible defense Jean can give on this.
I went to McLaren Circle one time.
Yes. That?
You never told anybody?
No.
So you really don't have any enemies then?
Not that I know of.
No reason for anyone to set you up for a murder you didn't commit?
No.
You don't remember ever getting into a fight with anybody where it got physical and you got hurt? So no way somebody would have gotten your DNA to plant if they wanted to.
It's on her.
You see where I'm going with this? It just keeps pointing back to...
You're going in fucking circles and I
No,
don't
I'm-
have an answer for
I'm trying to come up with any plausible explanation for how your blood ended up on a person that you've never seen before.
And I keep telling you, I don't know.
I get that, but I've just ruled out every plausible explanation I can think of.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and tell you something that I know is bald-faced wrong.
No, don't do that.
I don't know of anybody that would want to set me up.
So we're back to why is your blood on her shorts? And this is a woman that got murdered. And your blood, nobody else's besides her, is on her shorts. And that's where the big problem lies. She never tried robbing you, so you're defending yourself, and that's how you got hurt. And whatever happened, happened. You never seen her before, had no contact with her. So, there gotta be a reason. The blood doesn't just show up like that. It has to be a reason. Why?
Yes, sir. Detectives observe a heavy emotional burden weighing on Gene. His restlessness and sudden changes in breathing are signs investigators often see when suspects struggle with how or whether to come clean.
Know the reason.
I know.
I don't have an answer. You can turn it all different ways. Keep asking me 30, 40 times. I don't have an answer.
I know that.
Okay.
But do you understand the issue that you're in?
Yeah, I'm being charged with a murder that I don't know anything about.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you're fully aware of what is being presented here. We presented our report to a judge who signed that there's probable cause for your arrest based on all the evidence, right?
Yes,
Your DNA on the victim of a murder.
yes.
That's eventually going to go in front of a jury and a judge. And it's still going to be that same story. Only now, there's also you saying you have no plausible explanation for how it got there. How do you think that's going to play out in front of a jury?
I don't know. But I don't have a story or a plausible way to tell you what happened, how it got there. I don't.
The only thing I can say to you is, and I really mean this, good luck. And I really, really mean that. This can be hard on your family.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed.
You what?
A little disappointed. And it's not because you're sitting here telling me you don't know or can't give me a reasonable explanation. But like you said earlier, we've been watching you a long time. A long time. And in that time, I had several conversations with other detectives, and I said, this guy doesn't strike me as a cold-blooded killer.
Despite detectives clearly laying out the severity of the crime and the evidence against him, Gene continues to deny responsibility. Still, detectives can see that he is struggling internally to maintain the lie. He may be afraid of how the truth would affect his standing in society. However, detectives would ultimately charge Gene Stiller with second-degree murder and abuse of a dead body. As of now, Gene Stiller has yet to make his first court appearance.